Cheers. Greetings from Atlanta, it's John, and if you're new here, welcome to our travel channel. We have 48 hours to experience everything in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm talking Black history, civil rights movement, world of Coca-Cola, botanical gardens, the Olympics, and so much more. We have a short window. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future adventures, but let's get started. To start our day, we're grabbing a cup of coffee at Krog Street Market, but you could also go to Pond City in the Old Fourth Ward neighborhood. These buildings are refurbished from old industrial warehouses, so it has a really cool vibe, and it's a foodie paradise as there's a lot of food options. Now, it's very close to Auburn Avenue, which is the heart of a historical Atlanta, but we'll get into that more later. But first, let's grab our coffee. We acquired delicious treats and coffee, and if the line and activity at Little Tart Bakeshop is any indication, these should be amazing. The first item we got is a savory croissant. Looks like it's infused with different herbs. Very flavorful. Crunchy on the outside and fluffy on the inside as well. It's absolutely delicious. Now we have the chocolate pistachio croissant. It looks like they have different layers with the pistachio as well as the chocolate. I think it's a great blend to have something sweet and savory. You can't go wrong here. This was well worth a visit. I mean, Krog Street has many different food options here. They're open till 9 or 10, depending on the night. It's well worth coming here and getting a bite to eat. Cheers. The neighborhood between Auburn Avenue to Peachtree is known as Sweet Auburn. The reason being is the heart of Black Atlanta. It is known for a lot of its civil rights movements. Now we're going to start our adventure at the National Historical Park or Martin Luther King Jr. First, let's go see what the Visitor Center has. When you come to the area and enter the Visitor Center, of course you got to talk to a ranger. Nice little travel tip, that way you can learn more about the exhibits and also the historic landmarks. But the one exhibit you need to check out when you come in is the Courage to Lead. It goes through the history of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as well as his legacy. It really gets you in the mood to see everything along Auburn Avenue. There is so much history, and one of the main points of the museum is this 2-mule wagon for Dr. King's funeral procession that went from Ebenezer Baptist Church to Morehouse College. 4.3 miles where 200,000 people walked along the route. And what's even really more interesting is the wagon itself symbolized his work to the poor. So it's really honoring his legacy. There are many historical churches along Auburn Avenue, but one in particular is the Ebenezer Baptist Church. The original church behind me is where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached. Also, his father and grandfather preached there as well. You can go into the church and tour and listen to original recordings of Dr. King. The updated church right across the street, you can go and attend services. It's just one of the many features that you can find along the park here. The Ebenezer Baptist Church not only has huge ties to Dr. King, but also is a huge importance for the civil rights movement. In fact, Dr. King founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Their first meeting started right here at this church. So the beginning of the conversations of the civil rights movement started right here. Right across from the Visitor Center is the King Center, which was started by Coretta Scott King. And when you enter the center, you'll see the tomb of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as well as Coretta Scott King. And one of the really cool, unique features is the internal flame, which symbolizes their enduring commitment to the community. Right in between the peach and blue house is Martin Luther King Jr.'s childhood home. He was born in 1929, and he lived in that house with his immediate family and extended family for 12 years. Currently, it's under restoration, but when it does open up, you can tour the house, but you need to make reservations in advance at the visitor center. As you walk along Auburn Avenue, you'll see many businesses and buildings. Some of them are no longer in existence, but they played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement. You are going to want to see the Atlanta Daily World building. It was Atlanta's first Black daily published newspaper and covered topics you wouldn't see in a traditional newspaper, such as lynchings, protests, police brutality. So Black Atlanta was getting topics they wouldn't normally see. Since we're huge fans of Longwood Gardens, we had to check out the Atlanta Botanical Gardens. We're super excited to see. The gardens opened in 1976 and is considered one of the nation's foremost public gardens. Just like Longwood, they have a cafe and restaurant and a garden shop. And we're really excited to see everything that they have to offer, as they have some of the southern plants from like the marshlands and the community. It's about 30 acres. They have outside space as well as an indoor conservatory. So let's head that way and see what it has to offer. We're exploring their numerous outdoor gardens, and while some of it is green and blooming, we think the main star of the show is the conservatory, and we're headed that way. In addition to seeing beautiful plants, unique to this conservatory is an exhibit of amphibians and frogs. In particular, this one is the Harlequin poison frog. We enter the tropical rotunda, and it is a tropical paradise. One of the cool features is that they have real frogs in this environment. It's not just pipe music, so you really enter a tropical forest. Behind me is a cacao tree that's used to make chocolate. And it's really cool that they have one here, and you can see the fruit. We were warned about Carmine, who is an alligator snapping turtle. We're hoping we can catch a glimpse and see him in action. I don't know, I can't see him, but he can hold his breath for over 50 minutes, so he could be underwater somewhere.
Oh, he's back there. You see his tail? Under the water.
Oh, I do. He's holding his breath. We're leaving the tropical rainforest and heading right to the desert house. We're entering the orchid display house. Let's go. We really love Longwood Gardens, and their orchid house is amazing, but I think this is what we would envision as an orchid house. Like, it's much more natural environment, which makes you feel like you're part of the forest or the environment where the plants live. We entered the high elevation tropical house. The plants here are native to the Andes or other high mountain area regions. We're really excited to see the different plants in this garden. Now that we've left the conservatory, let's talk about getting into the gardens. It's $30 per adult on the weekends. Weekdays, a little bit cheaper. And if you're a member of an American Horticultural Society participating garden, you could get in for free, even better. There is a parking garage that you can pay an hourly fee, but let me tell you, it may seem a little pricey, but there's 30 acres to explore, so it's well worth it. There's a few outdoor spaces that we want to check out, even though it's early in the season. Starting off is this canopy walkway, which is a raised bridge that takes you through the forest. This is the Cascade Gardens, which was one of the places that was recommended for us to go to. During the springtime, the goddess statue has flowers on it. And even though we're here in the middle of February, it's still a great, calm, and tranquil place to just sit by and relax. Here we have an impressive living sculpture, the Earth Goddess, standing at 20 feet tall, weighing almost 29 tons, holding over 18,000 different plants. It is a sight to see during springtime and summertime. Adjacent to the Botanical Gardens is Piedmont Park. It's over 150 acres, filled with hiking trails, picnic areas, sports fields, and so much more. The park hosts different festivals throughout the year, so it is the place to be. And the best part has to be the views of the city skyline. It's a must-do for sure. We came to the west end, right along the Beltline, which is a 22-mile stretch of reclaimed railroad space that has been converted into walking paths, as well as some of the warehouses have been converted into businesses. So we're really excited as we walk to our next destination. We're at the Best End Brewing Company, right along the Beltline Trail in the Lee and White complex. I mean, obviously it's a brewing company, so they have beer, but they have cocktails as well. A kitchen, you can get a tasty treat. And they have an ice cream place, so if you're looking for a late night sweet treat, they got it here. But it's a super chill place and you can hang out. They've got games, but we're gonna enjoy our drinks. But don't worry, we have some food coming real soon. Cheers. Our food came and you can't go wrong with chips and queso and loaded tots. Let's dig in because I'm hungry. Let's make sure we get a little bit of everything. Absolutely delicious. Loaded tots have pork. They also have aioli and candied ginger. You can taste all the spices just hitting your mouth. I mean, you can't go wrong with this dish. Centennial Park is 22 acres that was constructed for Atlanta's 1996 Olympics. There's plenty of things to do around the park, but it's really cool to see how the park has maintained its dedication to the Olympics. So let's go see some of the features and things to do around the area. I have to say this park is amazing. We've been to a couple of Olympic parks and locations, host cities, even some we haven't even filmed. And they really had a great idea for repurposing it. And even 30 years after the Olympics, it's still being used by the public. So it's a really good use of reimagining land and having a good mind for the future of what it could be used for. You may be wondering, why is it called Centennial Olympic Park? Obviously, huge ties to the 1996 Olympics, but that marked a special anniversary. The 1996 Atlanta Olympics was the 100th anniversary of the modern Olympics, which started in 1896 in Athens, Greece. So you can see the number 100 marked all over the park to commemorate this special moment. The Fountain of Rings is an interactive fountain, and it may be mild, but not looking to get wet. But during the summertime, this is probably the best place to be. As you walk along the park, you'll notice different quilts, monuments, or tributes to people or different moments throughout the 1996 games, such as the Quilt of Dreams, Remembrance, or Nations. They are here, like I mentioned before, to honor the key moments and people that made it possible. One of the most poignant quilts is the Quilt of Remembrance, where 2 people had lost their lives during the bombings. I'm not sure if you remember the 1996 Olympics where a bomb had killed 2 people. And right next to it, they have another memorial to Richard Jewell, who was a night guard who spotted the backpack with the bomb. And it's really great that they have a memorial to him, because I don't know if you remember the news, he was really victimized and vilified during the bombings. The Quilt of Origins is really unique. It has a monument where you can see some of the markings from the 96 bombings. Shout out to the security guard who pointed it out and gave us that little tip. Now, obviously, a park like this costs a lot of money. So to raise funds, the Atlanta Olympic Committee sold engraved bricks. Over 500,000 are used that are engraved with people's names that purchase these bricks. This is a really cool experience, and we do see that they're numbered. So if you have a family member or if you purchase a brick yourself, maybe you can find it along the path. If you're a huge fan of collegiate football, the College Football Hall of Fame is right by Centennial Park. Andrew's not exactly a huge fan of college football or football in general, so we'll pass by. But if you're coming to Atlanta and you love football and other sports, this is definitely a stop to see. Adjacent to Centennial Park is the World of Coca-Cola, Georgia Aquarium, and the Center for Civil and Human Rights. Now, if you're curious to learn a little bit more, especially about the world of Coca-Cola, you should subscribe, as we have a future video coming on that. When you come to Atlanta, the Varsity is a must-do. It is a huge icon of the city, and if you're a foodie, this is the place to be. They claim to be the world's largest drive-in restaurant, so they say, but there's so much to unpack. But let's first place our order, and then we'll sit down and talk about it. I need to learn some of the lingo in order to place my order. Obviously, you got to go with their well-known chili dog, but outside of that, I'm thinking maybe a VO, which is the Varsity orange drink, and ring 1 onion rings. We placed our order, now we're just waiting for the food, which just arrived. All right, got our table. Now let's dig in, but first, gotta put on our official hat.
Oh, doesn't really fit. Perfect.
All right, first things first, we don't want our food to go cold, but a few things we want to mention about the Varsity. It's a huge institution. It started in 1928, and it's right next to Georgia Tech. Originally, it was called the Yellow Jacket, and you can imagine during game day, this place would be packed. They serve over 30,000 people. A lot of people love their chili dogs, their onion rings, and their orange drink, which they're most famous for. Andrea got the cheeseburger, as well as the frosted orange drink. Let's try the chili dog first. That's really good. The chili isn't like overly spicy. It has like a nice spice to it. You have some mustard along with it. So I think that's very flavorful. This is the type of food I want for game day. Nice greasy fried onion rings and chili dogs. And let's not forget the orange drink. That's good too. I mean, I'm typically not an orange drink type of person. That has a nice flavor to it. It doesn't feel too sugary. And hot dog hit the spot. I can see why this is such an institution. I mean, game day, it must be packed. And fun fact, they can seat 800 people at the same time. This place is so expansive. There's parking levels and they have different wings. So it can definitely fit a lot of people. Another fun fact, though, is that U.S. Presidents Carter, Clinton, Bush, and Obama all ate here. So if you come here, you're among great company. We have a few hours left in Atlanta, and it is pouring outside. But don't worry, there is plenty to do in the city without going outside and getting soaking wet. You could go to the Center for Civil and Human Rights, the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library, or the Delta Flight Museum. Obviously, we chose the Delta Flight Museum, and we are so excited to see it. So let's put our pilot hat on and take to the sky. The museum is conveniently located right next to the airport, so if you're like us that have to get a flight in a little bit, it's a perfect place to kill a few hours and see some cool things. It costs $15 and it's broken up into 3 parts: prop air, jet air, and you can tour one of their 747s. So let's head this way and go to the first exhibit. The prop air really takes you through the humble beginnings of Delta, from when they started as a crop dusting service to their first passenger planes. But what's really cool is this Hangar 1 was actually built in 1941, and when Delta moved from Louisiana to Atlanta, this is the hangar that they use. So we're walking through a building that's historic. Along with their original crop dusting plane, they have one of their original passenger planes, and this plane could carry 5 people plus the pilot, and it's very small but could travel at 550 miles, so small but mighty. If you're interested in learning more about Delta, there's a theater right behind me that plays some short movies that explain some of the history and culture. But also what's really cool right by the theater are these model airplanes. Really awesome to see. When you enter the jet air room, the first thing you're obviously going to notice is the spirit of Delta. And what's really interesting is that it's 100% owned by employees back in the 80s. And it looks like we can tour the inside of it upstairs, so let's go check it out. All right, I'm all buckled in, ready to take off.
So this is it's an actual flight simulator.
Okay.
Delta used to train pilots in it.
Mm-hmm.
The reason it's here in the museum is that this airplane, 737-200, is totally obsolete. There's
Okay.
very few of them flying.
Mm-hmm.
The one in that picture out there on the wall,
Mhm.
that particular one is still flying. It's flying a cargo up in Canada.
We were inspired by the simulator to test out our pilot skills with a yaw, pitch, and roll, so buckle up as Pilot John takes you to the air. We may have a little bit of turbulence, folks, so just put on your seatbelt, tray tables up, and if need be, there's bags.
John, that's too much.
Yeah, probably.
Your co-pilot's taking over.
We're going to battle the elements and go through the rain to the 747, so wish us luck. We're entering the bones of the plane. So it's peeled back. You can see the insulation as well as the pipes and moving parts.
How big it is without the seats and the ceiling.
The 747 is a jumbo jet that has the nickname the Queen of the Sky. And seeing it in person, no wonder why. It's massive and luxurious. The Delta Flight Museum was really great. I mean, for $15, and it's right by the airport, it's a great way to kill a few hours, learn a little bit about the history of Delta. Andrea and I think both agree it was a great museum. That concludes our tour of Atlanta. I think the Delta Museum, as well as the Botanical Gardens, were my personal highlights, but there's so much to do here. Now, don't forget to like if you enjoyed our video and subscribe for future adventures, as we have much more planned on the way. But until next time, keep on exploring.